Hey, Carrie here. Welcome back to my kitchen. We have fed the starter and it is now time to make up sourdough for sourdough bread. So I want to start off by showing you how bubbly my starter has gotten. See all those bubbles in there? I wish you could smell it. It is sourdoughy and wonderful. And so it calls for 1 cup, so I'm going to measure this out right now. I love hearing how it is just so bubbly. So there's about 1 cup. And one thing that is very important, I'm not going to do it right now, but after you have measured, it's important to feed your starter again. So I will probably add maybe 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour and 1/2 cup of water, stir it up, let it sit overnight, and then I will probably pop it in the fridge until I need to use it again. So I will try to remember to do that. Now when it comes to the flour in baking bread, I have been doing this for a while. What I want to make real important is the difference between using all-purpose flour and bread flour. Bread flour makes all the difference of the texture and chew of the bread. This is what I like to use, Bob's Red Mill Artisan bread flour. And so I use 4 cups of this, and then I use 1 cup of whole wheat. And it just gives a really nice texture and chew, like I just said, to the bread. So here we have the 4 cups of the bread flour. I'm putting in 1 cup of whole wheat flour and 2 teaspoons of salt. And now I'm just going to pour in this 1 cup of the sourdough culture. Oh, I gotta get my scraper. Forgot my scraper. You don't want to miss any of that. So I try to scrape out as much of it as I can. There is just such a wholesome joy that I get in making this bread every time I do it. And it is always enjoyed by my family, my grandkids, all of us. Okay, and the last ingredient that it calls for is 2 cups of water. I usually use tap water, and so I do it in increments. So I'm gonna probably pour, let's say, 1.5 cups. And now we gotta get our elbow grease going, and we just start stirring. And every time I do my bread, it mixes different. And sometimes it mixes really wet, and sometimes it's more dry. When it's more dry, I add just a little bit more water, probably by the teaspoon, because you don't want it really wet. So as I'm mixing, you can just kind of see it starting to form bit by bit into more of a dough-like texture. I do end up using all 2 cups of water. I just kind of like to do it in little bits at a time and just kind of see what the dough's going to do. Oh, and the other thing I do, excuse me, I get a butter knife. And I just kind of scrape this off because sometimes the flour will stick to the wooden spoon. And so I just want to make sure I'm mixing it all well. I probably do this twice, I would say. Sometimes more. But let's just keep mixing this. It does. Sometimes I think, oh, this is really going to be a dry batch, but it doesn't. It mixes really well. I try to get all the flour that's on the bottom to come up. And I think I'm going to do the last bit of water. Now we'll see if we need to add more. I don't think so. I always want to mix it really well before I decide to add more to it. But there's just a wonderful delight when you make your own bread, and it is not complicating or overwhelming. And I want people to be able to approach this with just with fun in it, because it does not have to be an overwhelming thing to do. It needs to be a joy that you enjoy doing. Okay, the dough is coming together. It does take elbow grease. You could do it with a mixer, but I like doing it by hand. And you just this is where you kind of have to have patience. You just got to keep stirring until it gets just to where you want it to be. And you'll get familiar with your dough each time you do it. You'll know what you're looking for, how you want it to feel. You can even touch it, which I do sometimes just to kind of see, because it's going to be sticky, but you'll know when it's just right. Well, I think this is just about there. I don't think I want to add any more water to it. Okay, the dough is looking good. I think we are just about there. So what I do at this point is I take a dish towel, or a tea towel, if you want to be more specific, and I cover the bowl. I put a dinner plate over it, and now I will leave it on my counter until tomorrow morning. So it needs to ferment for about, or rise anywhere from 12 to 18 hours. So I'll meet back with you in the morning, and we'll make this into bread. Okay. Hey, welcome back to my kitchen. We're getting ready to make some sourdough garlic cheese bread, but I first wanted to talk about the importance of feeding your sourdough starter culture. So what I do the day before I'm going to make up the dough, I take my starter out and I feed it equal parts, if it be a tablespoon of water, a tablespoon of all-purpose flour, or half and half. And the culture is such an amazing live action concoction, if I can call it that. This is something that has dated back hundreds of years. I can't even tell you how old this culture is that I use, but it is an amazing product that makes incredible bread. Hey, okay, here we go. Let's take the dinner plate off. This is always so exciting to me. I love to see how much the dough has risen. Okay, it is risen to the top. You kind of have to pull this back a little bit. Sometimes when I just kind of take this all off, but look at the bubbles of this. And what I do can be a little messy at first, but you just kind of get all the dough off of it. But look at this. Oh, this is so exciting. Like I said, there's absolute joy for me in making this bread. So let's just get all this off this tea towel as much as I can. It usually comes off fairly easy. All right, so now what we're going to do, get a little all-purpose flour. We're just gonna pour this out. Oh, I wish you could see this and smell this. Oh, look at the bubbles and the texture of the dough already. I do get quite into this. Anyway, oh, this is just a beautiful, beautiful dough. Not too wet, but just right. I try to get as much of it out of the bowl as I can. Okay, now what I do with my bread making is I use 2 of these cast iron pots. So what I do first is I get my pastry cutter and my scale out. And I cut this in half as best that I can, and then I weigh them out on my scale so they'll be equally proportioned for the bread. And so I just go like this, and I weigh one, and then I weigh the other. And if I need to do some adjusting with it, then that's what I do. All right, here we go. I've weighed out my dough. Each one of these weighs a little over 1.5 pounds before baking. So here we go. We're going to start out with one of them. I kind of flour my countertops. Love my granite. Granite is amazing work surface if you're doing bread or pie crust or cinnamon rolls. But anyway, so what we're doing is I do a garlic cheese sourdough. I'm doing a different cheese this time. Usually I do a sharp cheddar. This time we're doing a sharp smoked cheddar. So we'll see how it comes out. It should be good. So the first thing I do is I take my dough and I just kind of stretch it big enough to spread out the cheese and garlic. I do like doing lots of garlic. We grow our own garlic, so it's wonderful. We use it in just about everything. Okay, so here we go. This looks about right. I usually start with the garlic. I'm gonna half this. And I just kind of spread out the garlic. I give it a good kind of pressing in so it's snuggled into the dough nicely. Like I said, I try to half it with the other one. So that looks about good. So now it's time for the cheese to have its place. Sometimes I really make it cheesy, which my husband does like. And the loaf, as you will see, is just beautiful once it's all baked. So again, I spread out the cheese, kind of press it in. About half. That looks good. I really like the method of this bread making. It's not complicated. There's not a lot of rising and having to push it down and all of that. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to take my dough, I'm going to fold it over, and I kind of give a little pinch along here to kind of hold in the cheese and garlic. And now I stretch it out a bit, a little bit more. You kind of just feel where the fillings are at. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the left and I'm going to fold it halfway over. And I'm going to fold this halfway over. And then I'm going to turn it and I'm going to stretch it out again. This gets a little tricky with all the garlic and cheese in it, but you just kind of work it. And I'm going to do the same process that I just did again. Again, this takes a little, sometimes I add a little more flour. Even if your hands get a little sticky, put a little more flour on them. And again, it doesn't hurt the dough. You're just kind of working it, stretching. Sometimes the cheese or garlic might peek out. You just kind of hide them in there again. All right, so let's fold this over again. We're going to go half and half. Now I'm going to flip it over. And now you're going to start turning and tucking in the dough. You see how my hand is tucking in that dough? And you're starting to form a nice loaf. And I do it until it feels like it's just right. And you'll feel it as you turn and tuck it that it starts to expand out, which is really good. So I think this is just about there. So what I've done now is I've taken 2 tea towels, and you want to liberally flour it, both of them. You can never do too much flour, I don't think. So now I'm going to do this one more time. And now I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to loosely cover it. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the other loaf. And when I am done with that, these are going to rise for another 45 minutes. And when I'm done with the other loaf, I'm going to turn the oven on and I'm going to put in my cast iron pots, and they are going to preheat in the oven for the next 45 minutes while the dough is rising. Okay, here we go. We're ready to now put these in the oven. So the dough has now risen a good 45-50 minutes, and the cast iron pots are all hot in the oven. So let's start with the first one. It's always fun to see how much they have puffed up. So what I do now is I am going to take this loaf and I'm going to turn it over. So now the seams are going to be up as it bakes. And I cut a piece of parchment paper. I found it easier to put it into the pots and take out of the pots. Sometimes I need to trim it a little bit more, which I think I might do. I kind of eye it at first, then I just kind of take it, make it a little smaller. Not too much, but that looks about right. Okay, I'm going to now pull out the pots, and they are hot. When I bring them up on the stove and then shut the oven so I don't lose the heat. Okay. Woo! Look at that steam. So let's take this one and we're just going to pick it up like this and set it right in here. And sometimes I may even trim it just a little bit more. You kind of have to get it all in. I just kind of cut these corners just a little bit. I mean, you could keep it really tall, but I like it a little smaller. Okay, so I'm going to put the lid on, like so. This parchment paper is pretty amazing that it can handle the heat of the oven. Now let's do the other one. And again, I'm taking the dough, turning it over, and now it's seam side up. And you will see when it bakes how beautiful the seams look. Sometimes I can cut the paper pretty good. All right, now I'm going to put these in the oven and they're going to bake for about 32 minutes. I've gotten it down to the minute, I really have. Those 2 minutes mean a lot. So they will bake for 32 minutes and I'll see you then when they have baked. Ah, got tongue tied on there. Okay, I'm going to check the bread now, see where it's at. It is baked now for 32 minutes. Let's see. I think it's ready to take the lids off. You can see the garlic and cheese on that one already bursting. So now it's going to bake for about 8 to 9 minutes with the lids off until it gets nice and golden on top. Time to check the bread. Needs to do it a little bit longer. I'm going to do about maybe four more minutes. I'm going to just check it because it kind of can go fast quickly. What I'm going to do is I check the bottom. We'll just let it go a little bit more. Okay, it's time to pull this one out and check the bottom of it. This is why I like the parchment paper. what you look for in a done loaf of bread is you want it nice and golden, and you want it to have a hollow sound, which this one does. I think this one is about done. Nice and golden and hot. But it has a nice golden hollow sound to it. Ooh, look at all that cheese. Let's check the other one. This one is done too. Let's take a look at the bottom again. Nice and golden. Nice hollow sound. Now, this is the hardest part. You have to wait 20 minutes before you cut into it because it is still baking. So we got 20 minutes to wait.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, here we go, slicing the first slice from this loaf. Oh, my husband loves this part. I just want to show you this up close. See the texture of just how wonderfully the bread flour does. So it's a beauty.